Okay, this is going to be another video demonstration kind of walkthrough that I wanted to do related to the new transform element that Salesforce has provided us with within the new flow builder. So um, it's this is in beta, right? I did a video last week just kind of going over how to clone records using the transform element in a flow. So there's going to be a release coming out in spring 2024, and it's related to this transform element. And if I open it right here, this is what it's specifically going to be doing. So sum or count items and collections more easily with the transform element. So I was messing around with this the past couple of weeks and think I figured it out. So I wanted to do just a short demo on that because I ran into, I don't know if it's weird behavior, but it was unexpected behavior and I found a workaround, but just kind of wanted to bring it to light as well as, highlight how cool this element seems like it's going to be for us in some of our flows that we're working on. So let's get into that. For this specific example, going to be really straightforward. I'm just going to I'm going to have a flow. We'll create it. We'll walk through all this stuff, but basically we're going to have a flow that fires when an opportunity is updated to closed won. Right when its stage changes to closed won, the flow is then just going to find all the related opportunities under that same account that are also in closed won, and we're going to total up their amounts, and throw that grand total amount into a field on the account. So really just kind of aggregating closed won opportunity amount on an account. So there's obviously other ways you can do this: roll up summaries, loops and flows, whatever you want to do. So just keep that in mind. This is a very kind of simplified, straightforward demonstration where it might not even be a perfect use case, but just wanted to highlight the feature in this latest release that's coming in spring 2024 as it relates to the transform element in the flow. So let's get into the build. So I guess as far as kind of the prerequisites go, tough word for me to say there. I've created just a currency field on the account object, and I'm just naming it closed won opportunity amount. Its length 16 and 2 decimal places. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and pause the video and take care of that now. So we'll just use this field to basically stamp that aggregate amount from all of our closed won opportunities on an account. So that's kind of prerequisite number one, and I think that's probably really the only one. So I think that's all you're going to have to worry about. And now let's get into our flow. So we're gonna, from setup, right? You're gonna want to go to Flow Builder. So I'm not gonna walk through all that stuff. Let's just get into the flow and get building. Okay, so I'm gonna do a record triggered flow. And for my start element, we'll select opportunity for the object. I'll go with have the flow run when a record is updated. And for my entry conditions, it's going to be really straightforward, right? So we'll do stage name equals closed won. And I want my flow to run only when a record is updated to meet the condition requirements. So I'm going to select this second bullet here and optimize the flow for actions and related records. Otherwise, I don't think we can access the transform element with fast field update flows. So we'll stick with actions and related records, and that's it. So we'll get out of here. So now our flows, at least the start, the entry criteria, that's all set up. So what we want to do next is we want to we'll use a get records element, and I'm going to name this get related closed won ops. So ops, obviously short for opportunities. So get related closed won ops. And for our object, we'll go with opportunity. And for our criteria, we want stage name equals closed one. So similar to the the start element in the flow, but on top of that, we want to do account ID equals, and then start typing record for right here. We'll find our global opportunity variable, and we should see account ID, right? So these kind of two levels of criteria, two lines of criteria. So we're going to basically find other closed won opportunities under this same account. And to be honest, this get records element, this is actually going to scoop up the opportunity that has triggered the flow as well, which is fine because that's what we want to include that in that aggregate grand total. So we do want we do want to include the opportunity that triggers the flow. So that's pretty much it for criteria. How many records do we want to store? All of them, right? Not just one. And that's it. I'll just leave this to automatically store all fields, and we'll move on to our next element. So from here, this is when kind of the fun stuff begins with the transform element. So we'll find that. You can see it's still in beta. We'll give it a label. So transform collection. And now we need to select source data and target data. So for our source data, we'll click the plus sign to add a resource. And we'll find our opportunities from get related closed one ops element. We'll select that. That's going to open up kind of this field palette. So we'll ignore that for now. And we'll go over to target data, select the plus sign. And we want to, for data type, we want record. We'll leave allow multiple values false. And for object, we want account. And then we'll select done. And same thing, it opens up that kind of palette of, now we're looking at account fields over here on our right and opportunity fields over here on our left. So from here, let me scroll down a little bit. So this is kind of where the transform magic happens. So it's a little bit a little confusing. I'll show you guys. I actually have another flow open, kind of my attempt number one at trying to get this to work. I was really unsuccessful with it, and I wasn't able to find a lot of documentation, rightfully so. I mean, this is still in beta, and it's transform is new in itself. Never mind, being able to sum up, what we're trying to do. It's not even deployed yet, right? It's still in preview, so it makes sense I wasn't able to find a lot of documentation or information on this. So I do want to highlight kind of some of my trials and tribulations, if you will, when trying to figure this one out. So what we want to do from here is we want to select, if you hover over all these fields, even the very top, right, this collection element, you'll see there's a little kind of target logo, right, that pops up over here on the right. So what we want to do is hover over the very top. We don't even need this open here. So just the collection of opportunities, and we'll select that target. And you can see it now opens up. If I unselect it, we don't see anything. If I select it again, it's basically going to tell us where we can map to as it relates to account fields, right? So what we want to do is, you guessed it, we want to go with the new closed one opportunity amount field that I had created and showed you guys to start the video as a prerequisite, right? So all we have to do is find our little target logo next to the field that we want. We'll select that. That's going to open up this aggregate section. So from here, it's basically saying calculate the transform value from the selected field on each item in the source collection. So this is kind of where the magic happens with, I know I've said that a couple times. I'll try to refrain from saying magic anymore within this demo, but basically with transform, rather than using a loop to go through each and every item in a collection, the transform is going to take care of that on its own, right? So basically, we're now looking at this aggregate section, and we have our source collection, and then we want to select aggregate type. In our case, we want sum, right? Because we're going to be summing up the amount from each and every one of these closed won opportunities from our first element here, our collection of opportunities. So we'll select sum. And now field to transform. So we have, okay, we're looking at a collection of ops. What do we want to do? We want to sum. And now field to transform is essentially what field do we want to sum from our source collection. So we'll click this, and we want our amount field from opportunity. So that's it. And you can see we've already mapped for target data. We are already going to our account and then our closed won opportunity amount field, right? Because we selected that. That was the first thing. That was the first thing we did when we popped open this this transform element, right? Before it took us to this aggregate section, we essentially mapped to our closed won opportunity amount field. So that's it. I'm going to X out of this, and I'll actually go back in and we can look at what we're now doing, right? So you can see we're not mapping any specific fields. I mean, we are the amount field, but we're doing that within that that transform or aggregate page that we were looking at a second ago. So I can just close out, minimize the fields, and you can see opportunity collection, and we're now mapping it to that closed won opportunity amount field. And if you want to see exactly what you're doing, right, you open up that aggregate. We now have this little button. We open that up, and that's going to take us to basically what we were just setting up. So that's pretty much it for the transform element. Now, we're not done, right? So I mentioned before we opened up transform, I had some problems trying to figure out how exactly it would work. So now we've essentially got our summarized total of closed won opportunity amounts, right? So now we need a way to update and stamp that value on the account record that's related to these opportunities. So what we need to do from here, we need to open up, or create, I should say, a new assignment element. So we'll pop this open and assign to new account record. You know, of course, give it whatever name you want. And this is where it gets a little bit weird. So again, just bear with me, and I'll show you guys when we're done with this what I tried to do before. So essentially, I'm using this assignment element because if you remember in the transform, I was going to open it back up, but I'm not saved here. In our transform element, that target data was just a new, it was a new record variable of type account, right? So that's just kind of a blank slate account. Doesn't even have an ID, right? It's not an actual account record. It was sort of just, again, a blank slate of account fields where we could essentially set up data for an account before we push it in, before we create that record with our flow. So right now we just have an empty account variable where only one field is set via that transform element, and it's that closed won opportunity amount custom field, right? So the field set, now we need a way to basically get that field pushed into the right account. And the account that we want to update is going to be related to the opportunity that triggered the flow. So it can be a little bit confusing, but hopefully you guys are kind of sticking with me here as I try to explain it. So from here, I'm going to create a new resource for my variable. Resource type, we're going to go with variable. API name, I'm just going to call it account variable. Data type, record. Object, we want account. And that's it, right? So I'll just pause here for just a second again in case anyone's following along. So a variable, data type is going to be record, and object is going to be account. So we'll save this. So now we're going to leave our operator as equals, and for value, we're going to take our transform op collection. You can see it's a record variable. It's a single, and that's it. So when I select that, you can see there's a little period at the end, so we'll backspace just to get out of that, and then we'll click anywhere outside of the value window, right? So we'll click right here, and that's it. So basically what this assignment element is doing is I have my, as I mentioned before, from the transform element, we have our kind of empty account record variable that's storing, as it stands right now, just that closed won opportunity amount, that aggregate amount from all the opportunities under the account. So I'm basically creating another empty account record, and I'm just basically setting it to equal the account record from that transform element, right? So this account variable, it's essentially going to match the transform op collection account variable that we had set up in our target data in that transform element. So hopefully that's making sense, and we'll get out of here. And then the very last part we need to do is update our account, right? Because as it stands now, we still don't have a DML statement. We have nothing in this flow that's actually updating any records. So we'll go with another new element, and we'll do an update records element, and we'll name it update account. How to find records, update and set their values. I'll select this last option, specify conditions to identify records and set fields individually. For our object, you guessed it, we want to count. And now we need to, obviously filter down what account we want to update. So I'll use ID. So account ID equals, and then for value, I'll just start typing record, and we can see our opportunity record global variable. Open that up, and then we can see account ID as a field, right? So now we have the account related to the opportunity that triggered our flow. It's exactly what we want. And now what field value do we want to, or what field do we want to update on this account? So for our field, we're going to do our new custom field, right? The closed won opportunity amount. And for a value, we're going to find that account variable that we used in our assignment element right here. And we will find the closed won opportunity amount field. Okay, we'll X out of here. And now we'll save our flow. So that's pretty much it. We'll save this up. I'll go with, just to differentiate between the other flow that I want to show you guys. So test 2, update closed won amount on account. We'll save that. And we'll activate. Okay. Now, before I show you guys the demo, I think, here, let me go back. This is the other flow I want to highlight with you guys really quick. I'm going to deactivate it. Okay, so just ignore that part for now. So the flow we just did, right? The flow we just created, test 2, update closed won amount on opportunity, or on account rather, it's now active. So to test this out, we'll go to an account, and let's take a look at, first, we'll go to the details. I think I added that field to the page layout. So let me see. I'm not seeing it here. Let me refresh. Yep, it's right here, right? So closed won opportunity amount, you can see it's blank, no value. So if we go back to our related lists and we look at the opportunities, so as it stands now, this account has one opportunity that's already closed won at $10,000. So let's update this first, it has a name of op1. We'll update this from a stage of prospecting to closed won. So what that will do is trigger this flow, and the flow will then find these 2 closed won opportunities, total up their amounts to 20,000, and stamp our custom field on the account record. So let's do that. if we created the flow correctly. So I'm just going to edit this first opportunity, and we'll change its stage from prospecting to closed won. We'll save that. So now you can see we have 2 opportunities under this account with a stage of closed won, each have an amount of 10,000. So if we now go back to our account and we look at the details, and you can see our field has now been updated, right? The closed won opportunity amount field is $20,000, which is exactly what we want, right? So this transform element, again, really, I think it's really cool. I haven't stress tested it with thousands of records or anything like that. Obviously, flow has its limits, right? You can't loop through thousands and thousands of records without probably running into some sort of sockle limit or whatever it is. I can't remember the specific flow error, but I'd be curious to see if this transform element would, have the same types of limitations. I'm sure, I got to assume they might be a little bit different, but I'm definitely interested to see what the stress test will look like on how many records the transform element could actually perform. So excuse me one second. Just need to take a sip of a little bit of water. So before I go, I just wanted to show you guys why we had to, what's the point of this first assignment element within my flow, because we're really just taking one single account record variable and basically setting another single account record variable. Why are we doing this step? Well, if I go to my first flow, let me deactivate the flow we just built, and now we'll go into the first flow. So that's exactly what I had tried to do with attempt number 1. So start element is going to be the exact same. My get records element, same thing, just getting all opportunities under the account who have a stage of closed won. My transform element, if I open this up, it's going to be the same thing as well, right? You can see I'm just mapping to the closed won opportunity amount field on my empty account record. And if I open up the aggregate section, or aggregate page, I should say, same thing, right? So taking basically the amount field from opportunities, summing it up into a custom field. So that all looks identical. And now what I essentially was trying to do was skip that assignment element and just update my account record. So if I open this up, you can see very similar to flow number 2 as it relates to this specific update records element. So finding account whose ID equals the account ID from the opportunity that triggered the flow. This is the difference. So set field values for the account record. So what I was trying to do was really just take and, let me clear this out and show you guys exactly. I'm still targeting the same field, right? That same custom field that I just built. However, I was trying to basically take my value directly from my transform op collection, that account record, that's the target in that transform element, use that value and just inject it straight into the account field. So for whatever reason, Flow will not let me do that, and I'll show you guys what I mean. So I'll select my transform op collection account, right? It's a record variable. We'll find that field. So we'll find our, oh, that's not what we want. We want the amount field. Oh, take that back. We do want our custom field here. So, right, that's it. That's all we're doing, because our transform element should be setting this field, this closed won opportunity amount field, on that empty account record in our target data in the transform element, right? So you would think that would do it. Now, if I save this, for whatever reason, the flow builder does not like it. So we'll activate. And now if I try and debug this, So I think my account had one more opportunity that we can use to debug. Let's see. It does. So it has this third and final opportunity. So let me just copy this. Come on. I have to open it up. So this opportunity, it's under the same account, has a $25,000 amount, and its stage, I believe, is prospecting. Yep, so we can use this to try and debug our flow here. So paste this in, and I'll update the stage from prospecting to close one. So this should trigger the flow, which it does, but without that additional assignment, I keep hitting this error here in my update account element, right? And you can see what's going on. So it's basically saying the flow failed to access the value for the field from that transform op collection account because the field is not available to the running user. So I've tried this with different users, obviously with myself, who's an admin user in the org. So it doesn't appear to me to be a permission issue or anything like that. For whatever reason, I couldn't get around it without having the additional, we jump back to flow number 2, without having the additional assignment element that's basically just mapping the account from that transform element to another empty account variable, and then finally into our account in the update records element. So kind of tricky. I'm having difficulty kind of wording the best way to word it, I should say, on the solution that we had to do and why I had to do it this way, but just keep that in mind. So if you are trying without this assignment element, chances are you're going to hit this error, right? I cannot find a way around it. And if you find a different way around it without needing that assignment element that we put in our flow, let me know. I would love to know, what I'm doing wrong. So that's pretty much it for this transform element as it relates specifically to the release that's coming out with spring 2024 and being able to sum or count items in collections. So I think it's really cool. We can do it without looping, right? So I would have to assume that saves some processing power and speed and all that good stuff. So, anytime we can take care of or take advantage of some of these kind of efficiency tools, I'm all for it. So hopefully you guys liked it. And yeah, that's it for the demo. Thanks.